Welcome to the PivotWorks rear wheel bearing replacement video. In this video we'll show you how to install a rear wheel bearing replacement kit that includes the seals and the bearings for your rear wheel. Begin by removing the axle nut from the rear wheel with a large box-end wrench and remove the axle blocks or chain adjusters and the chain. If you have to tap the axle out, be sure to use a rubber mallet so you don't damage the threads. You can see from the diagram that the parts that we'll be replacing are the bearings and the seals. Place the wheel on the ground or some other flat surface, and you might want to spray some lubricant to ease the removal of the seals, which we're doing here with a flat blade screwdriver. We're starting on the brake side. In the first example, we're using a retainer removal tool made by Motion Pro. You probably don't have one of these, so we're going to show you an alternate method. Okay, if you don't have the retainer removal tool, you can use the alternate method of a hammer and a punch to drive out the retainer ring. And if you get desperate, you can break or cut the ring, since there's a brand new anodized replacement ring included in the kit. Okay, the key to removing the bearing is to get a straight shot on it from the other side, which means you're going to probably have to whack sideways on the punch to push the spacer out of the way so you can get a clear shot at the bearing. There's no harm in driving the old bearing out by the inner race, because it's just going to come apart anyway and be thrown away. So the key is to get a good shot on it by pushing the spacer out of the way, and it should come out along with the spacer. It's a very good idea to freeze the bearings for about 15 minutes before you install them. And now you can use a big socket or a bearing driver, as we have here, to begin installing the bearing. Drive it in evenly. Make sure that you've got a good start on it before you drive it all the way home. The next step is to install the seal. You can do it with your thumbs. To get it started, make sure it's even with the hub and tap it in with a rubber mallet, and it should go in fairly easily. The key is to make sure it's even with the lip of the hub. Again, you can see here that we used a bearing driver to seat the seal. Because of its wide area, it's easier to get it lined up. Now we're installing the center spacer and the bearing on the other side, and driving that bearing in the same way with the driver, although again you can use a socket. You just have to make sure it matches the outer diameter of the bearing very, very closely. The next step is to install the retainer ring that came with the kit. It's a beautiful anodized part, and just screw it in with your fingers until it gets tight, and you can use the special tool or very, very carefully use a punch. We really don't recommend it, but if you're going to use a punch to tighten up the retainer ring, make sure you move from one notch to the next and distribute the load evenly. The important part is that you get the retainer ring tightened down to manufacturer's specifications. The next step is to install the seal on the retainer side, in the same fashion as we did on the other side of the wheel. No trick here, you just want to make sure the seal is evenly lined up with the edge of the retainer ring. Next, apply some good quality grease around the entire lip of the seals on both sides of the wheel. Now install the wheel collars, and you're ready to reassemble the bike.